Attorneys for Breonna Taylor's family calling for a new special prosecutor to reopen the case, while slamming the Kentucky Attorney General for not pressing murder charges against the 3 officers involved. The attorneys writing in an open letter, quote, "You were biased throughout the process and intentionally deprived justice for Breonna and her family." That Kentucky Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, joins us right now to respond. General, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. Thank you for having me.
Are you surprised that the family is calling for a special prosecutor in this case?
Well, look, let me just say that in this case, I was the special prosecutor, but this is the Ben Crump model. He goes into a city, creates a narrative, cherry picks facts to establish, to prove that narrative, creates chaos in a community, misrepresents the facts, and then he leaves with his money and then asks the community to pick up the pieces. It is terribly irresponsible on his part to push such narratives, such falsehoods. As the Attorney General, I don't have the luxury of falsehoods. I have the responsibility to the truth, the law, and justice. Ben Crump can make wild accusations and ask for ridiculous things, but at the end of the day, we have dispensed with our responsibility and duty to present the information to the grand jury. We did that in a manner consistent with what the facts in the law are. That's, again, my responsibility as the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
So how do you explain to people who looked in at what happened that night? It looks like so many things went wrong, and so many people are surprised that only one officer would be charged with anything, and that detective pleaded not guilty last week to the only charge, which was wanton endangerment.
Well, look, Steve, it is a tragedy. Let's not forget that. At the end of the day, officers were trying to execute a warrant at Miss Taylor's residence. Her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, fired a shot. The officers returned fire, which is justified because they were fired upon. The tragedy here, and again, I've said this from the beginning, is that Breonna Taylor was in that hallway next to Kenneth Walker when they returned fire and they hit her. No one disputes that this is a tragedy, but sometimes our criminal justice system, our criminal law, is inadequate to respond to a tragedy. That is the case here. Again, my heart goes out to Breonna Taylor's family, Ms. Palmer, all those connected to Breonna Taylor. That should certainly be everyone's sentiment. The other officer that was at the scene who was firing into the house, he, in our judgment, deserved to be indicted. That was what was recommended to the grand jury, and the grand jury made that decision. And we obviously have to continue prosecuting that case. The other thing I'll make sure that the viewers know is that the department or the FBI continues an investigation into the civil rights matters in this particular case, and we continue to be a partner on that investigation as well.
Right, and Mr. Cameron, what do you say to the people who continue to protest the decisions made in this case, and to the people who have done some rioting as well?
Well, look, I've stood up for peaceful protests since the beginning. You recognize that people will criticize decisions that are made, but at the end of the day, my responsibility is to the truth and to the law. We cannot, like some folks want to start with a conclusion and then just cherry pick facts to reach that conclusion. I don't have that luxury. My luxury is to make sure that all 120 counties in the Commonwealth of Kentucky are represented in this office, that the facts are gathered and that they are presented to the grand jury, which is what we did in this case. Look, again, at the end of the day, people, because they established a narrative before drawing the facts, are going to be upset. But I think most people recognize, because of the facts that have come out in this case, all of the facts that have come out, that the officers were justified in returning fire. Again, the tragedy is that Miss Taylor was hit in that return fire. But again, the responsibility of the Attorney General is to provide the information and the facts and give that to the grand jury for ultimately them to make the decision.
Well, it certainly was a tragedy. And people are going to continue to talk about it. In fact, your name was depicted on Saturday Night Live this past weekend, and during a musical performance, the singer mentioned you as well. We're going to play this and then get your reaction. Watch.
Daniel Cameron is no different than the sellout Negroes that sold our people into slavery by statute.
We need to protect our black women and love our black women. Because at the end of the day, we need our black women.
Attorney General?
Well, let me just say I agree that we need to love and protect our black women. There's no question about that. But the fact that someone would get on national television and make disparaging comments about me because I'm simply trying to do my job is disgusting. But it's not the first time we see this, and it certainly won't be the last time we see this. At the end of the day, my responsibility is to provide facts and truth and represent and stand up for justice. I think what you saw there in that display is someone who instead wants to fashion facts to a narrative. That narrative is simply not true in this particular case with Ms. Taylor. Again, it is a tragedy what happened to her, but what you saw on the screen there and what your viewers saw is something that I've had to experience because I'm a black Republican, because I stand up for truth and justice as opposed to giving in to a mob mentality. And those are the sorts of things that will be hurled at me in this job. Those are the sorts of things that I've heard when I was in college. Again, because I identify with a different political philosophy, and therefore that shades the way people view me. The fact that a celebrity that I've never met before wants to make those sorts of statements, they don't hurt me, but what it does, it exposes the type of intolerance that people, and the hypocrisy, because obviously people preach about being tolerant. You see a lot of that from the left about being tolerant, but what you saw there is inconsistent with tolerance. In fact, it's her espousing intolerance because I've decided to stand up for truth and justice. But what I will tell you is there are a lot of folks that look like me that aren't scared anymore, that are tired of the comments and the derogatory remarks that are made because of our political philosophy. And so enough is enough. We're going to continue to stand up and stand up for truth and justice in this job and in everything else that we do in this country.
Well, sir, we've had lots of questions for you over the last couple of weeks. We thank you very much for dropping by Fox and Friends. Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Daniel Cameron. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.